Welcome back to the Scarlet Faithful podcast, and it's my pleasure today to welcome in Rutgers Baseball head coach Steve Owens ahead of the season opener on Friday at Campbell. Coach Owens, thanks so much for being here.
I'm excited to get a chance to talk baseball. So Monday morning, and we're preparing for to get out of here on Thursday and start our season.
So before we get into this season, I did want to just ask about last season. Obviously, program record, 44 wins, program best, second place finish in the Big Ten. You fall just short of making the NCAA tournament. There was obviously some disappointment in that regard. What was your overall message to the team and your biggest takeaway for the program with all the positive steps that were made last season?
Well, last year's team was really fun team to coach. They were good at all aspects of the game. We had no issues on our team. They played hard every weekend, and they had a tremendous season. Both individually and team wise, there was a lot of great accomplishments. And so, I felt bad for our team when, we thought we were going to be a 2 or a 3 seed, and somehow we got left out. I still don't really understand that, but it happened, and we're going to take the positives from last year and just try to do it again, because sometimes if you all of a sudden have a great season after not having very many good ones for a while, you got to get your name out there, and hopefully we've done that.
So obviously momentum off of last season coming into this season, about half your roster returns, a lot of key veterans back. Obviously Ryan Lasco, Chris Breto, Evan Slight, Tony Santamaria, talking about your position players. How important has that been for the culture of this program that you're building now, entering your 4th year and having key guys back like that?
Yeah. We lost some really good players, and, Richie Schieckhofer and Mike Neister, and a lot of our pitchers, our entire weekend rotation, and our closer are all in professional baseball. Nick Samillo was an animal last year, and Danny DeGiorgio was, arguably the best shortstop in the country. So there's some pieces that are gone, but obviously we're excited about the returning players. Getting Chris Brito back after a great, summer in the Cape Cod League, along with Evan Slight, is really, really important. We have, I think it's 6 guys that saw substantial time last year and were, very impactful players. Ryan Lasco, Chris Brito, who led the Big Ten in RBIs, Tony Santamaria, who was second in the Big Ten in RBIs, Evan Slight, Josh Prodegrauer had a great freshman year. We also have Jordan Sweeney back, who played a little first base for us, but also had a big bat for us and won some big games for us. So, we've got a good core of our team back, but there's some other guys that need to step in and step up and do a good job for us.
And you added a few transfers, a lot with experience. Danny Melnick, Xavier Vargas, 2 from Quinnipiac and Rhode Island. What do they bring to this team, and where do you see their roles fitting in?
Well, Danny's got a good bat, and he catches for us and can play a little left field. And Xavier, is a left-handed hitter who plays first base. Missed last year because of injury. Missed a lot of the fall because of injury. Starting to swing the bat pretty good. I can see him more in a DH type role than being on the field every single day. But again, we've got some flexibility with kind of how we go about our infield stuff. So those 2 transfers bring a lot of experience. I played against Xavier when I was at Bryant. And then, obviously we've had success bringing in experienced players where they've been the right fit, like Nick and Tony to come in and be real contributors right away. So we're expecting Danny to contribute right away as well.
And you got a ton of offensive production last season. How much are you relying on returners to kind of increase their production, or other newcomers that fans should be excited about stepping in?
Yeah, I mean, if all of our returning players, have similar seasons to how they had last year with consistency, and they provide us a little more leadership because I've told a lot of these guys that are coming back, hey, you now can't just be you can't be inconsistent. You can't be good one day and not good the next because the supporting cast is we were really deep as an offense last year. So we're not quite as deep this year. We could be. It could develop into that. But these guys have to be really good every day. They have to be locked in and consistent so that some of our younger players and our transfers, when they acclimate to this level of baseball and this type of competition, can have some good games and some not so good games, and we can still be in position to win. So, the new players are, there's a lot of freshmen, and it's very difficult to make the transition and be able to come in and be a contributor right away as a freshman. Last year, Josh Grota-Grauer did that as easy as anybody I've ever seen. He had a great season for a freshman. Trevor Cohen will play some outfield for us this year. He's a true freshman, pretty talented athlete. Pablo Santos and Max Martin have shown some good stuff in the infield. They provide us, Pablo can play multiple positions. Max has primarily played mostly short this year so far in our preparation, but those guys can play second, short, and third. Chris Brito's played a lot of third, where we've kind of put Tony over to second a little bit too, so that gives us another way to do things. Obviously, Chris played first base last year, but we have Sweeney and Vargas that can play first, so maybe we do a little shuffle here and there and get a better offensive team on the field at certain times. So, and then we have a exciting freshman catcher, Hugh Pinckney from Canada, who was drafted out of high school. He's a very good left-handed hitter. We just looked at the stats because we finished our practice inter squads yesterday, and I think from September to now, I think Hugh has hit 380 against our pitchers over the course of the year. So he's a really good hitter. But again, playing catcher as a freshman, pretty tall task.
So shifting to your pitching staff, you have a ton of relievers back with experience. You've added a couple from the transfer portal, but wanted to start with the rotation. Wyatt Parliament, someone that stepped in last year and started 8 games for you as a freshman. What did he gain from that, and what do you expect from him this year?
Well, Wyatt got a bunch of innings as an early enrollee, which is difficult to do. So he should have been a high school senior last year, and he was pitched 50 innings for us. So that's valuable development for him. Most of those games were midweek games. Mm-hmm. And right now, our rotation, we're gonna determine our rotation going into this weekend right now. I think it's probably going to be, some type of combination of Drew Conover, Jake Marshall, and a freshman, Christian Coppola. Those 3 guys are kind of how we're going to line up. We're going to set that today for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But once we meet with the players and just assess everyone's health from the weekend. But those 3 are the front liners to be the opening weekend starting pitchers. So it's 3 guys that have never started a game for us here.
And so asking about Conover, the transfer from Seton Hall, big arm, has been a reliever in the past. What has he had to do in terms of being able to transition now into that starting role?
He's got a great arm. He throws really hard with good movement on his fastball. He's got a cutter that's a relatively new pitch that's filthy at times. It's really difficult to hit, and he's got a good slider too. Big kid, keeps his velocity. We've built him up to 85, 90 pitches. He's pitched very, in the fall we just pitched him, a couple innings here and there because he was a little tired out from the summer in the Cape Cod League. And then we started the transition to making him into a starting pitcher. And with the development of a third pitch and also, he's been very consistent. We started with like 2 or 3 sets of pitching, and we've worked him all the way up to about 85 or 90 pitches. And he's he's been our most consistent pitcher. Jake Marshall threw very well for us in the fall. It was a little rocky at the beginning of the fall, and then he got locked in, and he was doing very well with all 3 pitches and commanding the game well. And he's been a little up and down so far this year, but working hard, and I think has the experience to go out and compete as a starting pitcher and stay out there long for us. And Christian Coppola, he kind of overachieved what our initial expectations were from him coming in as a true freshman. Big kid, good arm, really heavy sink on the fastball and a good slider, and very competitive, and he's hard to hit. So he's done well. A lot of little things he has to keep getting better at, but he's pretty exciting pitcher to look at. He's 6'6" or 6'7", big kid, throws hard, and has good stuff.
So just talking about your middle relief and your bullpen, a lot of guys back, Sam Portnoy, Sam Bello, Ben Gorski, Joe Mazza, all guys that, contributed for you last season. Do you consider that a strength, I guess, in terms of having so many experienced arms back? And how much do you expect roles to be the same or maybe different this year with them?
Those guys all pitched a lot last year. And so outside of Dale Stanovich, who got drafted, who was the best closer in our league last year, the rest of those bullpen arms are all back. So that's an important piece for us, because those guys have to pitch a lot, especially early in the season when, your starters aren't built up to stay out there real long. But, Portnoy has had a really good preparation for the season. He's throwing harder. He was kind of an unknown kid coming into our program last year. Didn't really contribute very much as a freshman, and we kind of converted him into a sidearm type pitcher, and he's done very well. So Sam will be one of those guys in the bullpen. Ben Gorski, who has a good fastball and a really good breaking ball, had a much better year for us last year. Sam Bello pitched very well for us at times last year, pitched some big moments. He's got a lot of experience. Garrett French also pitched a ton for us out of the bullpen. Joe Mazza would be a good left-handed option for us. He's been a little inconsistent. We need him to step up and be a really good piece out of the bullpen left-handed. And then, Grant Besser, who's a new player in our program, is a left-handed, 3 or 4 pitch guy, very up-tempo, back-end reliever. Like right now, he would probably be the closer on the staff. If we were going into a late inning situation right now with a lead or a tie, Besser would be in there at the end. And then there's other guys. We've got some younger players, some young freshman guys that are starting to improve and throw pretty well, as well as some transfers. John Modugno has a big arm, has a lot of experience, pitched for 3 years at Indiana, and he could see himself in a long relief role. He could also see himself in a starting role or a closing role too. Gavin Stelfplug is a transfer, a Jersey kid that came in from Maryland. Big kid with a good arm. Needs to become more consistent. But there's some more choices there, for us to kind of build the bullpen. And I guess, we've been playing against each other for a long time, so we're sick of that. We're ready to go play somebody else. And all the hitters know everything about our pitchers and vice versa. So we're excited to kind of have a normal week of practice here, Tuesday, Wednesday practice, and get on the plane Thursday and go see what we got.
So that's a good segue into the schedule. I know last year part of what I guess was considered maybe part of the issue with the NCAA tournament was the schedule, and obviously a lot of that's unfair with being in the Northeast and having to play local teams. But you really did, I think, a great job of increasing the non-conference schedule, playing 4 teams that made the NCAA tournament last year, including Campbell. You have Georgia Southern, UNC Greensboro, and then a 3-game series with UConn as well. How much of a priority was that for you in terms of trying to control what you could in terms of your resume?
Yeah, I mean, we played a good schedule last year too. I mean, we went 20-8 in the Big Ten. We finished second. We finished second in the tournament, and we won most of our series throughout the course of the year on the road as well. I think if we didn't lead the country in road wins, we were up there pretty good. And we had a good RPI too. So, this schedule was done way before what happened to us last year. But it just happens that Campbell is a very strong program. With in the NCAA tournament every year, they've got the kid we're facing on Friday was a Team USA pitcher. Throws in the upper 90s, projected first round pick. So that'll be a very tough game right off the get go. All those other teams, Mercer, Georgia Southern, Kennesaw, UConn, and we're playing another tournament in weekend 2 with Ball State and Canisius, who I believe won the MAC last year, and Boston College. So we've got some really good competition. It gives us an opportunity to play high out of conference opponents, and if we win those games, we'll be in a really good spot, I think, going into the Big Ten play.
And going back to a point you made before, just in terms of, you have been very successful in adding transfers year over year. A lot of the transfers you brought in are Jersey kids. How important is that in terms of being able to bring local talent back into the program after they initially leave?
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel really good about our recruiting going forward. Even we can't really, talk about the kids that aren't signed, coming forward in the next couple of years. But, there's a lot of there's a high population in New Jersey. We're right in the middle. It's a great state for us to get players, although we have players from, a lot of Northeast players from different states and neighboring states as well. But to get some of the kids back that we didn't get, that's always a bonus if they want to be here. We've been able to, it's easier maybe to recruit somebody from that has been at New Jersey, from New Jersey and has gone somewhere else to play. Maybe it's been a good experience for them. Maybe it hasn't. Maybe they're a grad kid or they have a COVID year where they want to come back and get a master's degree or some other type of graduate degree and play their final season. So some of those things have worked out, very well for us. And, we've been more successful recruiting transfers that are from, that have some type of roots in the Northeast region. We've recruited kids from California and all over the country. They're just harder to get, to come to school. So, one of the biggest criteria is we've recruited what we've needed, to fill a void. And then, and the kids that we've recruited so far have wanted to be here.
And a couple more for you, Coach. In terms of the schedule, obviously road heavy the first 6 weeks. A big part of that obviously is being in the Northeast and the weather. How much does that help you in terms of just being prepared for that Big Ten schedule? Obviously, you have a lot as well, and just being able to see a lot of different types of teams, especially Southern baseball as well.
Yeah, I think we're going to go through a gauntlet. Like we're not traveling across the country this year or to Hawaii like we did last year. Those were difficult trips. Most of our trips are relatively short flights, into the Southeast. We're spending an entire spring recess in the state of Georgia. So I think our travel will be a little bit easier. Our opponents are going to be more challenging, higher level, higher quality, tougher to beat. And so, the good thing is though, in whatever, I've been doing this for 32 years or 33 years. We've never been outside more with our preparation than we have this year. Since we started, doing our practices and our individual workouts in the middle of January, we've been outside almost every day except for 2 or 3 days. So we played a lot of innings. Normally you're stuck inside and you're doing cage work and you can't get fly ball work or live scrimmage play. The Fred Hill Center allows us to play inside when the weather is cool. But we've been on our field, multiple times. We played, I think the last 2 weekends we played Friday, Saturday, and Sunday against each other outside. And we'll be able to practice outside, this week as well. So those are things that normally, there's been years when the first time you get outside is when you're playing an opponent. And this year we got out a lot.
So talking about Baton Field, obviously you're getting the lights installed, the new scoreboard. I believe you have 8 night games scheduled for this season. How exciting is that for the program and to be able to build, demand around the program and people coming to night games to support your team?
Yeah, I mean, we've had 2 pretty good seasons in a row. One, last year was outstanding. It really helped us with our reputation, respectability, and our recruiting, and then just some excitement, around the program, that we can be a very good program year in and year out, and that's the goal. Part of that is high level facilities. We need to continue to grow and build our baseball facilities. This year's step was a really nice large video board that's sitting up there right now that's already been installed, as well as state of the art Musco LED lighting, with an entertainment package, where you can kind of create a nice atmosphere. So for the people that come and watch us play, they'll be able to have a better experience. And then the lights can really help when the weather gets a little bit warmer in the middle of the season. From that point on, playing at night can increase the number of people that aren't working or have already done what they were going to do for the day, and they can come over and support the team and watch some Big Ten baseball games. And then it also helps us in a lot of ways with practice, because a lot of the games we play on the road just about every Friday are under the lights. So we have lights to practice under. We have lights if it's raining, on a Friday or a Saturday, and the game has to get pushed later in the day. We can do that now instead of having to play a doubleheader the next day. So there's a lot of things, and we're hopefully it'll help us create more of a fan base as well.
So last question for you, just with all the progress that you've made year over year, now your 4th season, hard to believe it's actually only going to be your 2nd full season with all the COVID stuff. What are your expectations for this team, for this program, now that you've had everything come together this offseason and headed into this year?
Yeah, I mean, we're excited about our players. They've worked really hard. I think we have a good culture in our program where the guys show up and play hard every single day. There's a lot of things that need to happen for, we didn't know how good we were going to be last year when we started playing. The season tells you that, right? How you do against your opponents and how healthy you stay and who steps up and who's consistent. And so there's a lot of things that you don't know about your team. The longer I do this, you don't like to make a lot of predictions because you don't know how things are going to go. But I'm very pleased with our team. Our coaching staff and support staff has worked very hard to prepare these guys, and we're excited and we believe in them. They have confidence, and I feel that anybody that we've played, in the past couple of years, when we leave, they know we're going to play hard and we're going to compete. And obviously winning has become something that the guys have a good taste of now. And that's a goal for us to play very well, knowing you can't win all games in baseball, but putting a really good resume together, having an opportunity to be one of the top teams in the Big Ten again, and then being rewarded with the opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament. Those are things that we're hoping for, and we're going to work really hard to try to get to that point.
Rutgers Baseball head coach Steve Owens. Friday night opening at Campbell. Very excited for this season to cover your team and really appreciate your time and best of luck this season.
All right. Well, thank you very much.